Please welcome to the stage Corporate Vice President Enterprise Mobility, Brad Anderson.
All right. Hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. You know, I get a chance to look around the room here, and every day I just get amazed with the people that I get a chance to work with. This is a community that specializes and focuses on making others great. It's what we do as IT pros, and I think we just have a tremendous impact on the world, on our organizations, and honestly, from the bottom of my heart, it's a real pleasure to be able to work with you. Right now, all of us feel change, and it seems like everything is changing around us. The way that we're delivering services, what our users are wanting to do. I've gone through this personally as I spent the bulk of my career building on-premises products, and I had to retool and relearn what it meant to build services in the cloud. Fundamentally different. It was a little scary, but it feels like so much is changing. But I just have this sense of urgency to impress upon all of you. You are the change agents. Every organization is going to be more digital today or tomorrow than it was today. It's going to be more digital next week than it was this week. And IT is not only at the table, IT should be at the head of the table because every organization is going to depend upon you leading them. So more than anything, embrace and lead. That's what we need to do. Let's talk about the key things that are impacting all of us. So first of all, security and cybersecurity by far is the most important thing that I hear from every single customer. It's a boardroom conversation. And we do amazing things to help protect you. You do amazing things to protect your organizations. But we have to remember the individuals in the organizations that we are fighting are just as focused, they're just as intelligent, and they're innovating as well. Business models are changing. Organizations that have existed for decades, for incredibly long times, are seeing their business models crumble right in front of them as more and more becomes digital, and some of the ways that business was done in the past becomes a boat anchor. We see things like natural events, and certainly our hearts go out to the communities and individuals who have been affected over the last several weeks. But the reality is no matter what is happening in the world, IT is expected to keep the lights on and to keep things going and to keep the organization progressing forward, no matter the impact happening around them. We take a look at what's happening from a globalization perspective. GDPR is a wonderful example. You have these incredibly rigid regulations that are coming into play with good intent. But there's a lot of work, and the penalties are incredible. With GDPR, the penalty of being non-compliant is up to 4% of the total gross of your company. And where does the responsibility fall at to ensure compliance? IT. And then finally, users are demanding, and they deserve more than what we historically have given them. One of the most interesting aspects of this particular part of what we do together is the workplace that our users receive from us is a significant contributor into the culture of the company. One of the things that I feel and one of the things that I hear from senior leaders is more and more they're understanding the need or the role of IT is a role of helping to define the culture. And many people will ask me, how has Microsoft so fundamentally changed and so different in just such a short period of time? It's been focused on the culture. So what we need to do together as we help drive and lead our organizations is help make sure the culture that we enable is supportive of the broad culture that the company is trying to do. So all this creates pressure. It creates pressure that sometimes can feel daunting, but at the same time it can feel exhilarating. And where does all this responsibility come to? It comes to you. It comes to the IT professionals of the world, and it's looked to you, the organizations are looking to you to help lead through this digital transformation. This is a time to lead. This is the time to step up, and the geeks of the world unite. But the world is becoming more and more digital. Every company is a technology company. And it's our time to really shine and help push our organizations forward. And so we hear what your concerns are. How do you do more than less? You're drowning in complexity. How do you simplify? One of the reasons why I just feel this need to help push all of us forward. Honestly, the things that are being asked of you and the ways that you're being asked to protect your company while you also enable your users, it is now impossible for human hands and human minds to do it alone. It's just impossible. And so that's what we have been working on, is how do we take and help you to move forward with that? And so that's what is fundamentally behind what we do with Microsoft 365, what we do with the Microsoft Cloud. We believe that taking the intelligence and the knowledge and everything that we do inside of the Microsoft Cloud and then taking automated action for you, as well as giving you insights that help you really prioritize that precious time that you have to make sure that you're having the greatest impact possible. We look at our role of having your back and enabling you to achieve more. And that honestly is why we built Microsoft 365. There are aspects of Microsoft 365 that we've been working on for 4 and 5 years. A lot of the genesis comes down to, several years ago, I reached out to the office team and I said, listen, we need to get together and we need to understand what this enterprise mobility is going to be. This is going back 5, almost 6 years ago. At that point, we were working on the applications for the iPad, but nobody knew about it yet. And so we pulled all the resources together from across the company: identity, management, security, productivity. And we said, let's try to envision where this goes and what's going to be needed to provide that holistic solution. And that really is what Microsoft 365 has become. And so as we think about what Microsoft 365 is, you think about a set of cloud services that are all operating at cloud scale with deep integration across those services that we build. And as we build those deep integrations, just not in how the services themselves interact, but how we bring all the data and telemetry together in a way that as we apply AI to that, empowers you and gives you more insights, we believe that Microsoft 365 empowers your users in ways you've never been able to. At the same time, it empowers you to have a bigger impact on the company. And as a design principle for Microsoft 365, we've asked ourselves, how do we deliver that modern workplace that is loved by users and trusted by IT? And doing both is hard. And so we've had to focus from an engineering perspective on how we build this end to end. Now, as we think about Microsoft 365, we also think about how we help you transition to modern IT. Modern IT is a world where you're more agile. You're able to get things done quicker. You're working in an environment where you have personal devices and corporate devices, on-prem apps and SaaS apps. Modern IT is all about getting more and more capabilities down to you faster and helping you to keep up with all the demands that are being placed upon you, then Microsoft in the cloud helping to supplement and extend what it is that you're able to do to ultimately empower your users better and enable you to do more. And so one of the big transitions here is, how do we help you go from where we're all at to where we want to go to in the future? And you think about it for a few minutes, the bulk of the world, I'll bet you 90% of the people in this room here today are in an environment where your infrastructure, your devices are managed by a combination of Active Directory, Group Policy, and Config Manager. That's certainly where Microsoft is. And my team is the team that actually manages all the PCs and all the devices across Microsoft. Interesting data fact here. In our SCCM configuration, we run in a hybrid model. We manage over 500,000 PCs and devices just through Config Manager. And so what we've been working on as well is how to help you move from the left to the right, from where you're at today, into a world where we can help you and apply the power of the cloud to help you do more. Now, why do this? As we think about the benefits of moving to a modern IT, first of all, we're going to massively simplify your infrastructure and the work that you have to do. There is something incredibly elegant about simplicity. It brings with it more security. There's fewer moving parts. There's fewer things that you have to worry about. And as we have integrated the services top to bottom, we're able to do things now on your behalf that you couldn't do in the past. Let me say that again. There is elegance in simplicity. And simplicity brings with it more security at a lower cost and a better experience for your users. Now let's talk specifically about what we call the Microsoft 365 powered device. This is a combination of Windows 10, of Office 365 Pro Plus, with all that being managed by Enterprise Mobility and Security. We believe this is the best way for you to experience Microsoft 365. So what we're going to do for the rest of today is we're really going to help you understand what it means to move to a Microsoft 365 powered device and the benefits that you get from that. But first, let's just actually take a view. What is a Microsoft 365 powered device? Okay, so you saw the pillars of what we call Microsoft 365. I got ahead of myself there. Let me come back. You saw the pillars of what we talked about there with a Microsoft 365 powered device. And you've seen throughout the event, with Sati, with the Kirk session earlier before, but we believe that it unlocks creativity, it's built for teamwork, it's integrated for simplicity, and it has built-in security. Now, specifically, as we drill into the characteristics of a Microsoft 365 powered device, here are the 4 pillars and the 4 promises. It's easy to deploy and manage. It's always up to date. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about why it's important to stay up to date. Third, you get proactive insights. And fourth, it has that intelligent security built in. So we're going to go through those one by one. And we're going to spend the bulk of the rest of the time actually looking at the products themselves rather than the slides. So to talk about easy to manage and easy to deploy, it really is about how do we just fundamentally rethink how you deploy Windows devices and how you fundamentally rethink about how you manage them, do it from the cloud, and then how do we help you get there? Okay, so let me show you some of the aspects of what we're doing in the first year. Then we're going to come back and talk to you at the end of the session about Fast Track and why Fast Track is going to be so important for you. All right, so the first thing I want to show you here is I want to show you the experience that your users are going to have as they're able to self-provision their own devices. Okay, so let me just kind of set the context here. One of the big things about modern management is we're encouraging you to move away from imaging. Stop maintaining those images and all the libraries of drivers that you've done, and let's move to a model where we can automatically provision you from the cloud. Rather than having your devices come into and sit inside your IT organization, we want them to automatically be sent to your users, and then have your users be able to answer a couple of really quick questions and have it auto-provision. Here's what the experience looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up, this is a simulation of a new device coming up. It comes up, it starts to boot, and it starts to ask me a couple of questions. What's my language? Where do I live? What's my keyboard preference? That's number 3. And then the 4th question is, what Wi-Fi do you want me to use? So I go ahead and put my Wi-Fi information in. And a really important thing to point out here is, because these are cloud services, you don't have to be on the corporate network. You can have the device drop shipped to a user at their house. They can be at Starbucks. We can provision that device anywhere in the world. I go ahead and put my information in, and the device talks up to the autopilot service. Now, what it does is it sees the serial number of the device, and it knows it was purchased by my company and assigned to me. And look, it starts to automatically personalize the device for me seconds after I booted it for the first time. Okay? Maybe some of you have heard me say this morning, but your users are going to think this is magic. How does it know that this device has been shipped to me so quickly? You put your password in, and now what's going to happen is all the policies that you've defined in EMS and in Intune will automatically start to be applied. You're going to see it come here, and you're going to see it start to bring down your configuration settings. It's going to go ahead and set up things like your certificates and your Wi-Fi. It's going to go and start deploying your applications. And all this is done based upon the unique need of that individual and their role and their identity inside of Azure Active Directory. Okay, and obviously, this has been accelerated a little bit, but, in a few minutes, you're up and running and your users are ready to go with the applications they need to be productive. And it's just magical. I mentioned this earlier today, but to me there is just something magical about opening up a new phone or a new laptop and taking it out of the box. I feel like it's, I get to do it several times a year, but it feels like Christmas. And I want your users to experience that magical moment. Okay, so now let's actually go show you what it looks like in terms of the administrative side of this. I want to spend a little bit more time diving into the admin side of this. So first of all, what you're looking at is this is the EMS console. It's in the Azure console. And you're looking at a custom dashboard that I've built for my unique needs. Okay, one of the things I love about the new administrative experience is you can customize the console however you want it based upon what your role is or what you're working on at that moment. And so the first thing I want to go show you is some of the things that we're doing in terms of actually setting up autopilot. Okay, so you come here, and I'm in Intune, and I'm looking underneath device enrollment. The first thing I want to show you here is actually the list of all the serial numbers, the manufacturers, and who that's been assigned to. Okay, this is all information that Intune has just pulled out of the Autopilot cloud service. And this is how we actually know the device belongs to this company and belongs to this user. If I come and close this then and show you some of the things that we can do, you can have different profiles from Autopilot, so set up the devices a little bit differently based upon geography, based upon role, but it just has infinite flexibility for you to be able to do what you need to do. Now, if I come over and take a look at how I configured Windows 10, inside of Intune now, you're looking at the device configuration settings here, and all of the settings that you would expect to have available to you are all exposed here. And we're constantly adding things here as we add new capabilities into Windows. If I come and take a look here, for example, in Defender, here are all the things that you can configure in Defender. And I love the way that the team has built the experience. It's just simple slider bars. It's just really easy to understand. And so you get this great administrative experience with the richness of all the things that are being exposed in Windows 10 for you to configure. Now, this is the initial configuration that is applied to my devices. This is also the configuration that I will enforce with conditional access to make sure the device does not creep and get out of compliance. Okay, so you get both of those with one shot. Let's go talk a little bit about managing the applications. The first thing I want to make sure everyone is super, super clear on, Microsoft 365 enables users on all devices. Microsoft 365 understands there are big screens, there are small screens, you have users who are going to be working on different screens throughout the day, and we have gotten to deliver that incredible experience across all of those devices. So you can see here, I'm able to deploy applications across the different operating systems. I'm going to go drill into Office Pro Plus, because this is something new that we're just now showing for the first time. Now, historically, as you go to the store and you bring the applications out of the various stores, you've had to think about them separately. So think about it for a minute. As you've provisioned using Intune or any other solution, you didn't have Office. You had Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but now you can think about Office and deploy Office holistically. So I come and take a look at the properties here. You can first of all go in and identify which applications you want to deploy. And then you can go and do the settings of the configuration for Office as a suite. Okay, so again, it's easy to set up, and then we just apply it time after time. Those of you who've been using our management tools forever, this is just going to be a natural place for you to be able to go to. Now, I want to show you something else that we announced new today. Okay, and it's called the Intune Management Extension. And here's what we're doing. What you've told us is as you want to move from Config Manager up to Intune, you want to move from the Config Manager agent to taking advantage and using the MDM layer in Windows, there are things that the MDM layer has not enabled you to do, and you've needed us to extend that. So what you're looking at here now is that we now, on every managed device that is managed by Intune, there's now a PowerShell interface that you can run any PowerShell script. Yeah, right? This alone is going to unblock many of you to move up to Intune and modern management for your devices. Because now, if there's a group policy setting that you've been using in the past that's not exposed for the MDM, fine. Just go apply it through a PowerShell. Now, to be super clear, this is a PowerShell runtime that's running on the managed device. Don't confuse this with the Microsoft Graph that you can access via PowerShell. The Microsoft Graph is the API to the administrative experience. This is actually being able to run scripts on any Intune managed device that's Windows 10. Fantastic set of capabilities that I think you're really going to be appreciative of. Now, that kind of gives you an idea of the things that we've been doing in terms of how we think about simplifying your management. Okay, so with that, let me go back. Let me talk to you a little bit about the next pillar, and I'll come back and show you a little bit more demo. So first of all, simplicity, okay? And what we're doing to help you simplify your environment. Let me just make sure you understand a couple of the big announcements from today. First of all, we announced that OEMs are now coming out and supporting autopilot. We started with Microsoft Surface, and we used Surface to prove that this worked end-to-end. You know, it was really easy for us to be working day in, hour to hour with the Surface organization, the Surface team, to get these things provisioned. And then we've opened it up and asked all the OEMs to participate with us, and Lenovo, Hewlett-Packard, Panasonic, Fujitsu, and Toshiba have all now embraced autopilot and are going to be supporting this. This provides you essentially more than 60% of all the PCs that are shipped in commercial organizations are now covered with autopilot, and we hope the others will join us. Now, let me give you a little bit more idea of what we've done there. But I want to, first of all, understand, Jeff, you go back to the other slide there for a second. Oh, you know what? I do need to do one thing for you here. I did want to help you understand a little bit more about what we're doing with respect to co-management, okay? For me, co-management is actually maybe the most significant thing that we announced today as the management guy at Microsoft. I've worked with a number of organizations, many of you in the room here, who have tried to go from Config Manager to Intune and just haven't been able to get there because the capabilities in that MDM layer just haven't been rich enough. And a lot of the reasons come down to things like, you know, are all your applications ready to go? And so what you've asked us to do is build that bridge that helps us understand how we can move and help you move from on-prem Config Manager up into Intune in the cloud, but do it in a way that is simple, less risk. I can do it in bite-sized chunks. So what you're looking at here is a new set of capabilities in Config Manager. If you're on the Insiders build, this will appear next week in the 1709 build. This will be generally available in the 1710 build, okay, so that you'll be able to take a look at that in 1710. And what you need to understand here is what we have built now is the ability with co-management for a device to be AD joined and AAD joined at the exact same time. That's huge, because now what that allows you to do is the same device can be managed by Config Manager and Intune at the exact same time. But what we've now built is the ability for you to be able to do that one step at a time. You don't come in and have to make this leap that you're going to go from AD and Config Manager to Intune and AAD overnight. But what you can do is you can do it one step at a time, one workload at a time. So what you're looking at here, first of all, inside of where you see enablement right here, where you see enablement, that is actually where you can go and we can automate the process for you to take your Config Manager devices and have those enrolled for management in Intune. But then you take a look here, there are 3 workloads that we're starting out with: compliance policies, resource access policies, and updates. To move from Config Manager up into Intune, it literally is a drag of a slider bar. In this case, I'm saying I want to do some pilot, so I don't want to entirely move everybody up into Intune. I want to do a pilot with it. But for these other 2, I literally want to move it entirely up to Intune. And just like that, you've now taken those workloads and moved those from Config Manager to Intune. Now, important to this is Intune and Config Manager are in constant communication with each other, so we actually know every object, every attribute, who the authoritative source is. Is it Intune or is it Config Manager? So you don't have to worry about conflicts. Let's take a look at what this looks like now from the administrative console side, looking at it from the cloud with Intune. So what you're looking at right here, first of all, is the ability for us to honestly take a look at every device, who the principal user is, who the authoritative source is the device compliant, what's the operating system, the OS version, when was the last time it checked in, when was it provisioned. Okay, so you can see here, these right here where they say MDM, the authoritative source is Intune. These that say Config Manager and MDM, that's when they're in the pilot mode. Significant announcement, actually has got a lot of interest in people today, is the Jamf announcement, where Jamf is now integrated with the Intune device compliance policies so that we can actually take the richness of what Jamf provides on Mac devices and apply conditional access based upon the configuration that Jamf is putting in place on those devices. Okay? That's huge as well. Now, another thing I want to talk to you about in terms of easy to manage, easy to deploy is this concept of co-management fundamentally changes how fast you can now move up into the cloud. Because you can do it bite-size at a time, it makes it dramatically more easy for you to do. Okay? Okay, so let me kind of make a couple of announcements here. We talked about the Intune management extension. I want to talk to you a little bit about being up to date. Being up to date is critical. Being up to date is foundational to modern management. And when we say up to date, we literally mean we want you to keep up with the updates that we're releasing, and we want you to do it quickly. And so as we think about being up to date, we're going to be continually delivering your users new capabilities. We're going to continually be delivering new capabilities for you to be secure. We're going to make sure that we align our sequencing and our releases. For example, Windows and Office are releasing on a cadence in the fall and in the spring. This will help you be compliant today, tomorrow, and into the future. Now, this concept of being always up to date, it's foundational to modern IT. Let's just think about this for a couple of minutes here. Reflect back a couple of months ago when WannaCry hit. When WannaCry got into an organization, and these modern attacks, once they're in, they spread like wildfire. And in fact, being inside for an hour, it can completely devastate an organization. So you have to be able to act quickly. Being up to date is exactly where it is that we want you to be at. And so we want to give you some ideas of something that we're doing. But first of all, one of the questions I get all the time is, how does Microsoft do it? What do you do? So let me walk you through what our process is at Microsoft. And then I'm going to give you some benchmark data from the 100 million devices that are reporting back to Config Manager, and you can benchmark yourself. So at Microsoft, we have a 7-day SLA where the 350,000 PCs that we manage through Config Manager all have got to be up to date on security updates. Okay, this is for a non-zero-day attack. So what we do in the first 6 days, Patch Tuesday happens, and that morning we start rolling out the bits to all the PCs. We send them out silently behind the scenes in the background, and then it patches the PCs in the background, then it just waits for the users to reboot. Now at Microsoft, because we're constantly dogfooding, 80% of our user base reboots in every 7 days. What that means is that 80% of those users never see a pop-up that says you have to reboot in order to be patched. What's the best patching experience for users? No patching experience is the best. So 80% of our users never see that pop-up that say you need to reboot to be patched. That is awesome, and that's what you need to be doing. Then what we do on day 6 is we start to notify that remaining 20%, you have got to be patched and reboot by the end of the day, and then we give them the option to postpone that in case they have things that they're working on. But once we hit that 7th day, we enforce. And when that device comes up, we put the timer up, you've got 60 minutes to save your data, we are going to reboot your PCs. But we can drive compliance across Microsoft with just the standard updates that come out every Patch Tuesday across all those devices in a 7-day period. Now, if something comes out that requires us to do it faster, we just simply compress everything. And so what we do is, instead of doing silent patching in the background for 6 days, we do it in 1 day. We get 75% of our users in a 24-hour period, and then we get the rest over 24 to 36 hours. Now, let me give you just a little bit of data here on benchmarking. Okay, so today with Config Manager Current Branch, we have 100 million devices that are reporting back to us. What do you think the mean is in those 100 million devices for deploying security updates? The mean across those 100 million is 2 weeks. So benchmark yourselves for a minute. Are you ahead of the mean, or are you behind the mean? Okay? We have organizations that are using Config Manager today that have 350, 400,000. If you can follow these on Twitter even, whose SLA is 4 days. You have to stay updated. You have to. You get more value for your users, you're more secure. Now, what I wanted to show you now is I want to give you a little bit of information and help you understand how we want to help you do this in the cloud with Intune. So let's look at the administrative console. So in the administrative console here, what you're looking at here is now what we call update rings. And this is the kind of configuration that we really encourage all of you to think about. In this right here, I've got a group that I call my insiders. This is like 1% of the organization. And when new features come out, as well as new quality capabilities come out, new quality updates, patches, I deploy out to that 1% on day 0. Okay? So these are the people who are kind of like a little more tech savvy, but I go out and I get a fair amount of the organization to actually go test it for me. And it's just testing in production. Then at the 3-day mark, I expand that and I go to about 10% of my organization, and that's the pilot deploy. And then at 7 days, I take it broad, I go to all the organization. Now, this is all automated for you. You set this policy up, you set it and forget it, and it just happens. But if for some reason there's an issue and you need to pause it, it's a right-click pause, and you can pause that work if for any reason you need to pause it. And so as you get more and more confidence in the updates coming out on Windows 10, I encourage you to think about how you do this kind of an update policy to get those updates out there as quickly as you can, okay? And so that's what we talk about when we say it's always up to date. So let's go back to the slides now. Now, first of all, I just want to take a moment here and just celebrate the fact that it is the 25th anniversary of Config Manager, okay? What do you think about that? I can tell you, this has had a profound impact on my life and the life of my family, and has impacted millions of IT professionals. Tomorrow at noon, we're going to release a 40-minute documentary about the creation and the creating of Config Manager and SMS. We're going to tell you some really funny stories. There's email in there that Bill Gates sent out as he introduced SMS to the company back in 1994, okay? Really encourage you to go take a look at the video. It's really quite funny when you kind of see some of the people that many of you have known for 25 years, when some of us had hair, when, some of us look the same, some of us look like we have aged. This next thing I want to celebrate with you is nothing short of incredible. Well, this last week on Current Branch, we passed 100 million devices being managed with Current Branch. Current Branch hasn't even been out for 2 years yet. This is the fastest upgrade to an on-prem product in the history of Microsoft. If you think about it for a minute, I only know of 3 services globally from any company that have more than 100 million in the enterprise users and devices reporting back. Office 365, Azure Active Directory, and Config Manager. Okay? Many of you have been with us on this journey for many, many, many years. Thank you. Okay, I talked about co-management, okay? Just to make sure we're all landing on exactly what this is, the concept here is you have a device, can be managed by both AAD and AD at the same time, Intune Config Manager, and then you just move workloads simply and easily, and your journey to the cloud just got dramatically easier. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about real quickly is the Jamf partnership. The impetus of this was you've come to us and you said, listen, my whole entire organization may not be Macs, but there's Macs in my organization, and often it's the executives. I need to have an integrated way to manage it. And what drove a lot of this conversation is all of you want to turn on conditional access. And that conditional access is how we block at the front door and make sure that only trusted users on trusted devices with trusted applications are accessing your data. And so we had to go do that work on Macs. So first of all, we've gone and done the work where we've integrated in with the MDM layer that ships on Mac OS, and if that meets your needs, fantastic. But every customer I meet with that is doing sufficient Mac or in-depth management of Mac is using Jamf. So I called Dean and I said, listen, I think we need to do something together here, and I'm super pleased to announce you'll see the preview of this in the next month, and the intent is to GA this by the end of the calendar year. Bring your Mac management up with your PC, your iOS, and your Android management in one console. I think it's fantastic. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to spend time talking about proactive insights and intelligent security, and to do that, please welcome Rob Lefferts.
Hey, Brad.
So
Great to see you. Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon. I am incredibly excited about the powerful tools that Brad showed you. And what I'd like to do is talk about the insights and intelligence that we will deliver to help make the right decisions with those tools. The goal is simple: make you the hero so that you can make sure all of your employees and users are successful. And we'll lead off talking about proactive insight. This is really core to what the cloud is all about. We are quite simply going to take the telemetry, information, and data coming off of devices in your organization and return it to you in the form of insights. And that will enable you to make great decisions about how to manage the upgrade, about how to improve the end user experience. We have a unique breadth of data, a unique aperture collecting information across Windows, Office, and Azure that delivers insights which you get to turn into action. And I'd like to actually just flip over and show you what that looks like. There's 3 core pillars that I'm going to talk about in this demonstration: making sure you're ready to upgrade to Windows 10, making sure you are staying current on all the updates, and how you can improve the end user experience on the devices in your fleet. Let's start with upgrade readiness. Now, Brad talked about some of these things this morning. I'm going to run through the demo and really highlight some of the capabilities that are most interesting here. We talk about applications, making sure that all the applications in your organization run great on Windows 10, and using the data that we have from 500 million Windows 10 endpoints to give you the best possible lens on what you should go do first. We help you understand applications that are low risk and will probably just work because we have a lot of information from our entire world establishment. The second is understanding what you should go do first. And Brad talked about this morning. How can you unblock 80% of the computers in your organization? The next thing you can do is take that list. You get a burn down of lists of devices that are ready to upgrade, hand that off into EMS, and use the tools that Brad just showed you in order to actually run the upgrade. But once you've done it, you need to ensure that users are having a great experience. And so this is where we get into the notion of usage, of actually grounding ourselves in the real world data of the user experience, going fast and learning fast. And we're sharing back with you some of the information that we hear directly from users. Built into Windows, there are tools for collecting user feedback, telling us what they like, what they don't like, give us feedback on what is great, and we are returning that back to you for all the users in your organization. You actually get quant data on what does it feel like to be an employee. You actually get the verbatims, so you can know when you roll out an update, is it working? Here we see a user who said, my computer updated yesterday and I haven't been able to establish a VPN connection ever since. Imagine if you have 2 or 3 users who are having this experience. You can coordinate the picture of what that looks like across your organization, and you can take action before you start to get an avalanche of help desk calls and before people are mad about why VPN isn't working. Great. I mentioned that we're giving you information about how applications work. This is all publicly available, so I'd like to show you where we get it from. There is a website ready for Windows 10, and Windows Analytics is pulling this information into the view of the apps for your organization. But you can use this to know what is prevalent and what is being used and what can I take advantage of. So I'll scroll down, and I can see a collection of applications. This is the view for antivirus vendors. Frequently one of the biggest problems slowing down deployments for enterprises, making sure that all the security tools are up to date, and you can get this proactive view of are they working on the builds of Windows that I care about. The other way you can use this tool is you can actually type in the name of the application that you're looking for. Citrix is a great partner. They've been working hard with us to make sure that their applications run great on Windows 10. You can go ahead and go look for the applications you care about, and you can drill into one of them and actually check for the version of Windows 10 in my organization. What versions of Citrix already show great traction around the planet? Which ones of those highly adopted, and which ones of those are still relatively new? Use that to guide what you roll out and what is compatible inside your organization. Let me show you another example of this. Let's talk about Office add-ins. So in this case, we've got a very popular add-in for connecting information from Outlook into OneNote. These kinds of Office add-ins are the tools that your information workers use to get things done. And we really want to make sure that they work as effectively as possible. So in this case, I can similarly run right in, take a look at what is the usage for the OneNote add-in for Outlook. I can check that not only on a version of Windows that I'm running, I can also choose the Office add-in architecture that I'm using. I can see how well it's deployed throughout the planet. That's the data that we pull in for Windows Analytics, and you can get direct access to it through the Ready for Windows 10 portal. And of course, it's not only about understanding the broad view. As Brad showed this morning, it's about knowing which add-ins are actually in use in your organization. What are the tools your users are depending on to make sure they are successful in their jobs? This gives you a great target list to know how do you go make sure all of the add-ins you need have been proven to work reliably in a global deployment. Last piece of insight I want to talk about, it's the same idea. It's data coming back to you on what your users actually do. In this case, it's the websites that your users browse to. So we're actually showing you these are the places that your users go. These are the things that matter to them, whether it's an external site or an internal line of business site, on making sure that they are going to have a great experience when they use their Windows 10 computer at work. That's getting ready to go to Windows 10. Once you're there, it is critical that you stay up to date. And Brad did a great job of talking about this being the foundation of what modern IT is all about. In order to drive that foundation, we're going to give you insight into what's going on in your organization. So let's actually take a look. There's two kinds of updates we're interested in. Quality updates or security updates, which come out every month with those critical security fixes. And I have a view onto how those are rolling out through my organization, where they're in progress, where I might have problems that I could go and drill into and fix to make sure that the computers stay within that 7-day window Brad talked about. But we also have information for feature updates. So these come out twice a year. And this is where I can go ahead and understand how is that rollout of the semi-annual channel going throughout my organization. Let me click into this one. And what I actually see is we've been successful on 5,000 computers in the company. There's this 1% that I really need to go take a look at because update failed on them for some reason. But I actually get a broken down list of reasons. It's not a black hole. It's 11 computers with the disk full, 16 computers with a disk error. There are specific problems that I can now go ahead and remediate because I have the data show me what's going on. Let's actually scroll down, and we can take a look at, for these ones where progress is stalled, how and where did it stall? And we give you a detailed view of the pipeline of how the update rolls out. And you can look at where are the phases where my users are spending time, and what can I do to make sure that they are more efficient. OK, last thing I want to talk about, in terms of staying up to date, critical that you stay up to date on AV signatures. With Windows Defender Antivirus, we're very proud of the work we've done. Our researchers find threats in the wild and deliver signature updates within hours to protect your organization. You need to make sure that you are getting those updates. And this gives you a view, based on the telemetry data from your fleet, about do they have the current AV signature and is it working appropriately? Here we see an interesting issue where there's a problem on remediation failed. We can actually drill into each of these instances and understand what was the threat, why did remediation fail. In a couple of these, it looks like, oh, the machine is just awaiting a reboot, and then everything will be up and running correctly. This helps you stay secure because it helps you stay current. Finally, let's just make sure our users love using their computers, that they trust them as devices that are always reliable. And so I'm going to drill into this notion of device health, which has been in preview, and we are now releasing to GA next month. It actually gives me a view of what are the devices that are crashing, and what is causing that? What are the drivers causing those crashes? So now I can drill in, and what I can actually get a view into is all of the users who are experiencing the biggest problems. Let's take a look at Andrea. This is perhaps an exec who's really complaining about her computer, says it's always going down. I can see why. I can look at exactly what is causing those issues and where she is seeing the reboots, and I know which problems to go fix. There's another pivot on this. Rather than looking at an individual computer, let's actually look at a specific driver. And what we see is, for this driver, across all the versions, where are the crashes coming from? Interesting thing we notice is the older versions of this are seeing a very high percentage crash rate. But as we move to newer releases, it really drops down. I know what I need to go do. I need to go push the update for that driver. And that's exactly the kind of thing that you want to do in order to see improvement in the reliability of your devices over time. And so as I mentioned, next month, we will actually be releasing to GA all of those device health capabilities. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep improving the device health experience. I talked about the operating system. Let's talk about the applications. Let's make sure that we have the same great reliability for all the applications that you buy and the ones that you build yourselves. And so here's a view we are working on where I can drill into individual applications and see where our device is having trouble with that, correlate what's going on in the environment, understand changes I might have made that would impact the reliability of that app. The goal, of course, is to get this graph that we will return to you. It shows you the improvement in app reliability over time. And here's where I can check to see, oh, the version I have isn't really widely deployed, but if I update, it has got much better traction. Last comment, Windows Hello for Business is a great way to make sure your users are protecting from phishing because they just aren't using their passwords to log in all the time. And you're getting the great device validation of their identity. So here is a view that helps you understand, are my users being successful with Windows Hello? And what type of Hello are they using? I can understand if they're using fingerprint or face, if they're using their PIN. I can get that data, understand when they're having login problems, and use this to help drive the culture change that improves the security stance of my company. And so with that, that is how we will deliver to you insight around what is going on in your fleet to make sure that your devices are safer. We've had great traction in rolling out Windows Analytics. We actually started talking about it just over a year ago, and we're over 3 million devices, over 1,300 customers in over 190 countries. This is the kind of traction we get because we are delivering such value in the shape of M365, taking advantage of Windows Analytics, and I invite you to check it out. Now let's talk about security. I'm actually from the security team. This is near and dear to my heart. And what we're going to talk about is how we are improving the security stance in a way that makes it more effective for IT professionals as well. We're going to go through 3 pillars. We're going to talk about protecting the front door, protecting and hardening the device, and making sure that we have great post-breach detection and remediation. And this is all about the power of Microsoft's Intelligent Security Graph helping you protect your devices. So let's start off and take a look at what it looks like to protect device identity. So I am, in this scenario, a guest of a company. I'm a vendor who's working on a marketing campaign, and I've been invited to participate in the company's Salesforce deployment. I'm using their SaaS app, but my access to that is protected by EMS conditional access, and all of the data and experience is completely monitored. So I get this dashboard. When I click through my invitation, I can click on Salesforce, and what actually comes up is a notification that my access to this app is monitored. This is actually good news. I am going to go get access to critical customer data from this company. Let's make sure that I know that everything I do is actually being watched. And as I continue on, I see exactly what I would hope to see. I see Salesforce, and I get to use it in all the ways that I know and love. And this is Salesforce. But again, not only is my usage being monitored, particular operations get blocked. So when I click on this download, what you'll actually see is that file was flagged as critical customer information, and so I'm not allowed to download it because I might lose track of the information and it might get outside of the company's control. And that's how EMS helps protect data, not just from the services in Microsoft 365, but also from external services as well. Now let's actually go ahead and take a look at some of the administration on how we set that up so that you as IT professionals know what that will look like. So here we are inside of Intune. I'm going to look at the business partner security policy, which controls how externals get to access my information. And what we see is I have control over the users and groups, the apps, and the conditions that are targeted. We see that we are giving information out on these applications. And in particular, we're targeting these guest accounts that are those external business users. But the cool thing is that I have a great deal of fine-grained control over the conditions that are being used here. So one of the fundamental ideas is this notion of sign-in risk. There's a lot of factors in here. One example is, we've noticed that this user signs in the morning from, say, Virginia, and in the evening from, say, China. And that's unusual behavior, the kind of thing you might want to flag because it's probably not normal. We also do great hands-on research, like we go out to the dark web and buy known compromised accounts. When we see one of those, that's a very clean indicator to you that you might want to put additional restrictions on that user logging in. But in addition, I can take advantage of information like locations. So here we have actually selected 2 IP ranges for European countries and Redmond to say that these are highly trusted locations where I know my users are coming from all the time, and so when they come from there, I'm going to put them into that trusted bucket. That is the power of the configuration that you have, taking advantage of EMS for conditional access and to help protect your SaaS applications. So that's the front door. Now let's switch over and let's take a look at how we protect and harden the device itself. We have been working inside of Windows 10 for a few releases now on this notion of making sure you run only the code that you trust, that you have a great deal of fine-grained control through tools like Device Guard over what are the valid things in my organization. And if you're super smart, you put together a great XML file like this one that actually enumerates all of the applications you trust in your organization. I could ask for a show of hands on who's actually done that. But let's skip ahead and take a look at a better answer. What if you could just go to Intune and turn on Defender Application Control? On top of that, what if you could say, I bet Microsoft has a really good broad perspective view on what are the applications I might be able to trust. What if I could use the intelligent security graph to actually set that up automatically? I'm going to trust the things that Microsoft knows are broadly used and trusted applications. Sounds like a great idea. The impact of that is now when I click on Adobe, it'll run and install because everybody uses Adobe Reader, and I want to make sure my employees have that. But what about bad app? Obviously, you don't want people to install bad app, and so we will block that. And this block happens at a deep level in the operating system, which is really cool. But we're going to take it step by step. So now let's actually walk through what one of these attacks would commonly look like. I'm going to play the part of an Office user who very cleverly grabbed some USB drive, had some information on it. I did the natural thing. I stuck it in my computer. I open up that folder. I look at the contents. Oh, turns out that this international marketing strategy is something that I really care about, so let's open that up and take a look. Now I'm going to show you side by side. This is the content of my documents folder. This document opened it up. Again, it was targeted to me, my job, the things that I care about, but of course...
Warning. I have encrypted files in your demo folder and subfolders.
Scary Man shows up, and you've seen that all the files shown in the folder explorer are now encrypted. And this end user, this employee at your company, is now running around thinking, how do I go buy Bitcoin? How's that going to work? So let's go through some steps that you could take to harden this to make sure that can't happen. And I'm going to go back into Intune and talk about exploit protection through Windows Defender Exploit Guard. So what we can do here is we can reduce the attack surface in a tool like Office. We have a great deal of control over what kinds of things are going to happen. Are we going to allow injection? Are we going to allow child processes? We can have control over what kinds of scripts and macros will actually get run by default. Some of them I want to audit. Some of them I want to black entirely. And there's some standard things that you know your users aren't expected to do, so you can turn it on. And now, when I go back and open up this file, this is the kind of experience, open up this file, this is the kind of experience that your end user should see. It says, your IT guy was a hero and saved you from being owned. And that's what we want to have happen there. So I think that's pretty great. But just in the name of experiencing the misery, let's go one step further, and let's pretend none of that was turned on, and the user actually did get owned. OK, we'll open it up, take another look. They got owned, but now they can go to OneDrive for Business and actually take a look at what happened there. And here I am looking at my work documents in OneDrive for Business. I actually have this nice timeline graph that shows me a very unusual spike in activity. I can click back and see what was happening to those files on that date. All kinds of creepy things. Next generation v1 got renamed to something .wincry, which sounds pretty bad. Files were getting deleted. All kinds of uploads were happening. This is the point at which my work life was coming to an end, and I was looking up Bitcoin, and I'd really just want to go back to the moment right before all of those bad things happened. Great, let's click the Restore button. OneDrive for Business has the work information that I care about. It's going to go ahead and roll me back in time to that moment, and I can go ahead and now take a look at how is that doing, and view the progress of it while I get a cup of coffee, enjoy having all of my work files back, and there is no Bitcoin experience in my future. I am a happy, productive user. We've talked a lot about how we're going to harden the device, protect the user. The fact of the matter is that sometimes the most advanced attackers are going to get through. And it's clear why. They have super strong economic incentives to keep coming at us. And this is why we need a mature stance that talks about protect, detect, and respond. And we are filling out that entire picture. So with that, let's actually flip over and take a look at Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection. Thank you. I'd like to announce, actually we talked about it this morning, the inclusion of Hexadite in Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection. What we've actually done here, we've bought a company with great advanced technology, and in a period of just a couple months, we have integrated that into the product, and we are rolling out a preview this fall that will help you get this experience. The way you will get it is through Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, and that is just part of M365 E5. So this is the ATP dashboard, if you've had a chance to see it. It's a great place to come and see a lot of devices get set up on your machine, in case you didn't get to see that happen. But ignoring that for a moment, it's actually a dashboard where you come in every morning and look at all the alerts that are happening in your organization. Now imagine you're a SecOps professional. What you normally do is you grab your cup of coffee, you come in, you sit down, you look at the alerts. Oh, a process was injected with potentially malicious code. And you spew coffee all over your monitor, and you run around and you get the war team together because now we're going to have to go fix this. This is something we need to take action on. ATP is pulling this information from a wide variety of sources across your company and across all of the capabilities of the Windows platform. And so you see integrated in here alerts coming from malware, alerts coming from Smart Screen. We've integrated it with Office 365, and we pulled together that view for you of all of your information. But what we'd really like to do is make sure that that coffee spewing experience doesn't happen, that it's smoother. In fact, let's take a step back and talk about this kind of security talent. It is getting harder and harder to find because the threat landscape keeps getting worse. And so we want to make sure those individuals are focused on the most strategic tasks and problems. And that is what automated investigation and remediation is all about. So let's click in and take a look at what is going on for the investigations in my organization. I see a bunch of stuff is already running. There's a couple that are postponed. They're actually waiting for approval. One of these has completed, but the one at the top is super interesting. There's all kinds of flags going on about what kind of threat types are happening, and there are multiple machines involved. So I'm going to click in and get a view of that. And what I actually see is that Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection has actually already remediated this problem using Hexadite technology. We can scroll through and look at what it did. It quarantined a couple of files that were obviously malicious. It terminated 2 running processes, and then it went and actually blocked communication with a specific IP address that was known malicious because that threat intelligence was coming from Microsoft. And we can actually drill in to how is that information put together. First, here are all the alerts that cause that data to appear inside of the Hexadite console. As Hexadite went through the process, one of the most important things is getting a full view into the scope of the breach. The worst possible thing that could happen is you go and scrub out a couple of infected machines, because all you've done is told the bad guy that you are there, that you are aware of them. Their response is quite clear. They're going to go deeper. They're going to sink into your network, and they're going to wait for a later opportunity to come back and make your life miserable. And so here's a view of all the entities that Hexadite analyzed in order to remediate against this threat. And then here are the actual endpoints. And what you see is multiple endpoints. It didn't just go after the one. It went and queried the online information from Windows Defender ATP over the last 6 months about what are all the devices that talked to those malicious endpoints, so you can get the whole scope of the breach. Finally, it's super cool that it can do all of that on your behalf, but it also gives you a very detailed log of everything that happened. This is critical for your follow-up after the fact, to understand if global attacks are happening, but also just to meet compliance, that you are confident about what's happening to an end user's machine at every point in time. Now let's go back. This is a great view. The other thing that you can do is drill on an individual machine. ATP gives you this view of what machines are at risk. I can click into one of these and see the detailed timeline of everything associated with this machine. I have a new capability. In ATP already, you could run an AV scan, you could isolate the machine, but we've actually added a new capability called Initiate Investigation. This is what you do when somebody calls up and says, I think my machine got hacked. You can actually go take a look remotely by just initiating this investigation. It will turn on the Hexadite machinery, and it will just go gather forensics and do its analysis of what's going on this device, all in an automated way. Before we leave the world of ATP, I want to spend one last moment talking about security analytics. This harkens back to the conversation on us giving you information to make your decisions better. And what this is actually all about is a tool that you can use in order to understand the security stance of your company and understand what operations you need to take in order to improve it. So if we could switch over to security analytics. Thank you. It's like magic. This is the security analytics dashboard. This is coming with the fall creators update of ATP. And what this actually shows you, first, I love this because I'm a little bit competitive. It actually shows you a score, 525 out of 600, and where you stand compared to the worldwide average. So you have a concrete sense of how well protected is your organization and how are you doing relative to others. But more importantly, it gives you a set of things that you can do to take action. The 2 yellow bars, very clear that I need to do a better job of keeping AV turned on and up to date. And it gives me a list of machines that I can go act on in order to make that happen. It also tells me, back to the gamification, which ones are going to move my score up the most. And so this way I can return concrete data to the CEO, to the CIO, saying this is how we made life better and more secure. These are the steps we took. A very similar thing for security updates. And actually, for this company, that's the biggest opportunity. Get current, stay current, and use the information shown here in ATP to make that happen. OK. We've talked about a lot and how we can make sure that your company is secure. We've announced automated remediation, taking advantage of Hexadite. And at a broad level, what we've actually done is covered all the pillars of a Microsoft 365 powered device. Easy to deploy and manage, always up to date with proactive insights and intelligent security built right in. We have huge momentum around this, and I'll let you read all of the numbers, but it matters in 2 ways. First, it is real, and customers are taking advantage of it today. And second, this is actually the data that informs our cloud intelligence. And the more this grows, the smarter we can be in the cloud about how to run your organization. I'd actually like to tell a few stories on organizations that have made this progress. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Mars, and Accenture, and drill into some of the feedback they had about Microsoft 365. So first, we see this as a significant win for us as a company. And the things that Blue Cross Blue Shield talks about here is making their employees more productive and making their customer experience better. It is strategic to their business. Let's take a look at Mars. Microsoft 365 delivers the key components to enable the Mars digital experience for our associates. This is really the underpinning of what it means to be a great employee at Mars. Finally, Accenture, at the heart of a digital work proposition, really empowering our workforce. This is what matters, and Accenture, they are leaning so far forward. They are, in fact, the world's largest Windows 10 deployment, the world's largest OneDrive for Business deployment, and on top of that, they are now the world's 2nd largest Intune deployment, having just finished up a migration from AirWatch. Let's actually hear it from Accenture in their own words.
Accenture's mission is to drive digital transformation for our clients. We operate across industry, across the globe, in an era of massive acceleration in technology. We have over 400,000 people. I've got to be able to empower that workforce and that capability at least as much as we are doing for our clients. Accenture is a beacon for our clients, a beacon for transformation.
Not only do we enable our people with the latest technology, we're also setting ourselves up to be a reference for the art of what's possible with Microsoft. That's the big value for us. It's evergreen, and it's demonstrating to our clients that we can be a market leader in adoption of Microsoft technology.
The workforce has changed. We are 75% millennial. I see in that workforce a completely different set of requirements and demands on me to deliver a completely different set of services. We're in the cloud, and we have services that need to be sticky, real-time, and engage our customers, engage our people.
We are the world's largest consumer of Windows 10. We'll hit 300,000 within a not-so-distant future, and we'll be at 400,000 next year.
I'm enjoying the evolution of security in the Microsoft proposition. I see that maturity with Windows 10 and EMS, managing the identity of the user, differentiating between enterprise and between personal use at the application and the data level. We can operate in both a mobile way and a secure way, but actually not disrupting the user experience at the same time. Office 365 and Windows 10 are at the heart of a digital worker proposition, which is really speeding up our workforce. The value in today's ecosystem is huge. I can deliver services that enable the mobile, fully deployed global workforce. I can keep them current. I can keep them connected. At Accenture, we're excited about the future. We believe we're at the very leading edge of keeping both ourselves and our clients totally relevant, totally secure, and totally pivoted into the new digital world.
Awesome. I love that enthusiasm for new technology. And now I'd like to just echo back the enthusiasm I heard from Kirk this morning around how we can use technology to support whole new categories of workers, the first-line workers, making sure that they also have a great experience focused on the tasks and problems that they actually need to go solve. And there's one critical component that we are announcing that is actually designed to target this and help with it. And that is Windows 10S running in the enterprise, specifically focused on the needs of first-line workers. We think this is an ideal solution to that problem of giving them a bulletproof experience with no distractions from what they need in order to get their job done. What it actually means, Windows 10 Professional in S mode with all of the great capabilities that offers, performance and battery that lasts, Microsoft verified security. We have validated the apps that will run on that, but we also make it easy for you to add new apps using the Store for Business. And if you want to get Win32 apps running on that device, the desktop bridge will help you import those applications, package them up into an AppX, and put it in the Store for Business. But the real point behind that is this device, this 10S device, is connected to our cloud. All of the things that we have been talking about around management through EMS, around analytics coming from the platform, around monitoring it through ATP, that all works on a Windows 10S device running in the enterprise for first-line workers. And so with that, we've talked about the devices that we want to make sure are available and working with the great range of partners that are helping us on this journey. As you think about rolling out to this 80% of the workforce, a lot of it is making sure that you can deliver them this foolproof experience at an effective price point. And our partners, HP, Acer, and Lenovo, have done a great job of coming through with a range of attractive devices at the price points that will help you manage your TCO and will ship from the factory, locked down by default with Windows 10S, and we are working to bring that to the enterprise for you. So with that, I'm incredibly excited about all we've done. What I'd like to do is bring Brad back up on stage, and he'll talk you through how you can get on board.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, let's, we have 7 minutes and 36 seconds here, so let's bring it home. You know, modern IT is here. The modern workplace is here. I think as you've seen what we're delivering right now, I think we have really dialed in on what it is that you need and what you've needed to make that move and to make that shift. I just want to re-emphasize this point that there's no way that human hands and the human mind can keep up with what you need to do and the attacks that you're facing. Let our cloud come and back you up, and let our cloud come and help you do what you need to do. I want to talk to you about Fast Track. You know, there's all these amazing things we just walked you through, but I want you to understand how we want to help you to get there. Let me tell you a little bit about the genesis of Fast Track and then how you can get engaged with it. The genesis of Fast Track was it started with the Office 365 team. And over the past couple of years, we've changed the focus of how we measure the engineering teams, including how we even compensate the teams and the leaders to usage. You know, I remember Satya, you know, in 2012 and 2013 would make the comment that you can have the most beautiful architecture on the planet, but if nobody uses it, what does it matter? So usage is core to everything that we are doing now. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to build a program where engineers could engage with you to help you get deployed. And that's what Fast Track is. So the Fast Track engineering team is a set of engineers that sits inside of the engineering teams. They're globally distributed. And any organization that has more than 150 licenses of any of the products in Microsoft 365, somebody from the Fast Track team is calling somebody in your organization, and we call, and the conversation goes like this. Hello, this is Brad from the engineering team of Intune. I want to understand how I can help you get deployed. And first of all, you go like, okay, am I being punked? Okay, is this really Microsoft? But it truly is the engineering teams who are leaning in now. And if you want to work with a partner, great. You know what? We will pay the partner to come in and do the deployment for you. That's how serious we are about helping you to get deployed. We'll work hand in hand with you, the engineers will, or if you want to work with a partner, we'll get you connected with a partner of your choice or help you find one, and then we'll pay the partner to come in. Partners in the audience, fantastic opportunity for you. Let me tell you where we benefit immensely from this. We now have got a level of customer connection with you that we've never had before. And so, for example, let me give you how my team operates. If we see that there is a customer block, that there's some kind of a bug or a blocking issue on Intune, that comes in immediately through what we call the customer experience team, which is who's interoperating with the Fast Track team. And that comes immediately into my engineering teams. And that becomes the top priority of the team because our priority is usage. If somebody is blocked, whatever is blocking that customer becomes top priority over new features. And that's also one of the beauties of being a cloud service. If I don't release something today, it doesn't matter. I'll do it next Monday. I don't have to wait for trains to leave once a year or once every 6 months. And so we have the flexibility to adjust every single day what we're working on, and our top priority is to get you unblocked. The other thing that we do is every Monday, this team sits down with all my program managers, and they walk through what they've learned in the last 7 days. Here's what we learned from our customers, what's blocking them, what's accelerating them. And so we now have more information flowing into us. And I take that and I combine that with the cloud architecture where we're able to look at the telemetry. And more than ever in my career, have I had the confidence that we're building what it is you want, because I know what you want, because I hear it every Monday, and I see it in the telemetry because I see what you're using. Now, often the problem with Fast Track is we have like the phone number of your procurement person. So if you want to get involved with Fast Track, just go up to the Microsoft website, go to Fast Track. There's a way that you can submit. You'll get a phone call from one of our engineers, and we want to lean in and help you. I said if you have 150 licenses or more, that's the automated process. If you're smaller than that, man, get in, give us a call. We want to help you deploy. And then I sit down once a month, and I get a view of what has happened in the last 30 days through Fast Track. And like as an example, in the last 12 months, the Fast Track program drove more than 3 million devices under management through Intune. 3 million just through this one program. So please engage with us and help us understand what we can do. Let me give you just two customer examples of people who have talked about, who have gone through Fast Track with us. This is United Bank. I about started crying when I read this 3 weeks ago, right? I've never seen a software company be that proactive and that helpful with a customer. Fantastic organization of a financial organization that has moved to the cloud for their management plane. And it's just a wonderful partnership. That was also an AirWatch migration. eBay, through Microsoft Fast Track, companies like eBay put new capabilities in their employees' hands faster. It's all about how we get new technology into the hands of your people. Remember we talked about at the beginning, IT pros make others great. It's what we do. Fast Track can help you do that faster. So in closing, just a couple of things I would encourage you to do. And the biggest thing is just get moving forward. Take action. But as you think about moving to a Microsoft 365 powered device, get Windows 10 deployed. There are less than 1,000 days to the end of service of Windows 7. Look at how you can start to take advantage of the analytics that Rob just walked you through. We walked you through in the Kirk session. We can help you accelerate your deployment to Windows 10. Get to Office 365. More than 100 million monthly active users of Office 365. You know, it breaks my heart when I go and visit a customer and I ask them what version of Office they're using, and they tell me we're on Office 2010. That's 7 years of innovation that those employees are going without. Look to co-management and start your transition from your on-prem capabilities up into the cloud so we can do more help for you through our cloud services. and get current and stay current. Remember, foundational to modern IT and to modern practices is to be always up to date. Okay? It is just an honor to work with all of you. This is a community that means a lot to a lot of us at Microsoft. A lot of us have spent our entire career working with IT pros like you. We take that responsibility seriously, and we're honored that you let us work with you. Thank you very, very much.